Think the Bears are the same old team? Think again. A hidden rookie is about to torch the worst run defense in the NFL this Sunday. But if Ryan Poles pulls off this last-minute move, everything changes. Will he trade away a key piece of the offensive line in the middle of a playoff push? Spoiler alert, it's a bombshell that proves Poles ain't scared. And hold up. Guess who just showed up to flip this defense upside down? A controversial Super Bowl champ who already has opponents shaking. If you don't subscribe now, you're gonna miss the moment Chicago blows up. Smash that like button and stick around till the end door gets stuck in the hell of mediocrity. All over again. Look, when D'Andre Swift tweaked his groin this week, half of Chicago hit the panic button. But let me tell you something. Kyle Monange is about to have the game of his life against Cincinnati. And I don't think it's luck, I think it's fate. This kid out of Rutgers, 7th round pick, has been waiting for his shot. 81 yards against the Saints 2 weeks ago, averaging for point for yards per carry this season. But that's not what gets me hyped. What gets me hyped is how this dude runs. 5'8", 208 pounds of straight up grit. This guy doesn't go down on first contact, and when I watch him run, I see someone with the same fire as Isaiah Pacheco, and guess who he's facing Sunday? The worst run defense in the entire NFL. The Bengals are giving up 151.9 rushing yards per game. 151.9. You know what that means? 5 different backs have already gone for over 100 yards on them this season. 5. So I asked you, why can't Monange be number 6? But here's what nobody's talking about. The passing game. Swift's been averaging 27 receiving yards per game. That's 27 yards up for grabs now. And I watched that game against Baltimore. I saw Caleb Williams throw that pick when Monange was wide open in the flat. I saw him take a sack on 3rd down in the red zone when Monange had a walk-in touchdown. If he just looked his way, that I think Williams is going to overcorrect this Sunday. I think he's going to hit more checkdowns. And when he does, Monange is going to be right there. Now let's talk context. Trey Hendrickson, Cincinnati's best defensive player, is probably out with a hip injury. No Hendrickson means no pressure on Williams and nobody to stop the run. It's the perfect storm for a 7th round rookie to break out. Remember when Jordan Howard blew up as a rookie in 2016? Nobody saw that coming. 5th round pick, ended up with 1,313 yards. I'm not saying Monange is gonna put up those numbers this year, but I'll say this, Sunday could be his Jordan Howard moment against the Bengals. And here's the question you should be asking, is this part of Ben Johnson's plan? Because look, this guy came from Detroit where he turned Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery into one of the best one-two punches in the league. You think it's a coincidence Monange's getting more touches right when we're facing the worst run defense in football? I'm telling you, Ben Johnson knows exactly what he's doing. He's building depth in the backfield while keeping Swift fresh for the stretch run. And if Monange goes off Sunday, suddenly we've got a good problem on our hands, one every playoff team wishes they had. Chicago ain't playing around. This city's had enough of wasted seasons. We've suffered through Trubisky, through Nagy, through years of mediocrity. But this feels different. This feels like we finally have a coaching staff that knows how to get the most out of our talent. So here's my prediction. Monange goes for over 100 total yards Sunday. Over 80 on the ground, over 20 through the air. And when the game's over, everyone's going to be asking where this kid came from. But we already knew. We saw the signs, and if that shocks you, wait till you hear this. Now let's talk about something that's got the whole NFL scratching their heads. Ryan Poles is about to trade Braxton Jones, and I know what you're thinking. Wait, aren't we supposed to be buyers at the deadline? Aren't we 4-3 and in the playoff hunt? Exactly. And that's why this move is genius. Let's be real about Braxton Jones. 5th round pick in 2022, 4-4 starts at left tackle. Solid numbers. But here's the truth. He lost his starting job to an undrafted rookie named Theo Benedette, undrafted. And not just that, he's sliding down the depth chart behind Ozzie DePilo. Our 2nd round pick. Jones is on IR with a knee injury. He's out at least 3 more weeks. And when he comes back, what's he coming back to? 3rd or 4th on the depth chart. Does that make sense for a team trying to make a playoff run? I'm telling you, Ryan Poles is playing chess while everyone else is playing checkers. USA Today says the Chargers could be the landing spot. LA has been wrecked with O-line injuries, and Jones could be a high-end swing tackle for them. But here's what I'm wondering, what do we get back? It's not gonna be a 1st rounder. Probably not even a 2nd. but a 5th or 6th round pick for a guy who's got no future in Chicago. That's extra draft capital Poles can use to keep building this roster. And here's the wild part, this shows Poles has complete faith in his recent draft picks. Benedet's been solid. Tapillo's got a sky-high ceiling. When you trade a 4-4 game starter for rookies, you're saying, I trust my scouting more than I trust experience. That's confidence. That's vision. That's exactly what this franchise has needed for decades. Let's zoom out. Since Poles took over in 2022, he's been rebuilding this O-line from the ground up. Braxton Jones was part of that first wave. Teven Jenkins, Nate Davis, Darnell Wright. Some hits, some misses. But Poles isn't afraid to admit when something's not working and make a move. Remember when Jerry Angelo held onto mediocre players for years? Because he was scared to admit his draft picks flopped. That cost us years of competitiveness. Poles ain't making that mistake. And here's the question you should be asking. If Poles is willing to move Jones now, what else is he cooking up before the deadline? Because I think this is just the beginning. Is Poles about to make another big move? Bring in a veteran wideout? A pass rusher? If he's clearing roster space and stacking draft picks, something big is brewing at Hollis Hall. Look at the teams that have been winning lately. Niners, Eagles, Chiefs. They've all got one thing in common, G-Miz, who aren't afraid to make tough calls. Who don't hang on to players out of loyalty or sunk cost. They make the best move for the team today, and that's exactly what Poles is doing with Jones. Now, some fans are gonna be mad. How can we trade a starting tackle when we're pushing for the playoffs? But here's the thing, Jones isn't the starter anymore. He's hurt, and when he's back, he's behind to younger guys with more upside. Would you rather keep him on the roster collecting dust, or flip him for draft capital that can help us get better? The answer's obvious. And here's what gets me most excited. This shows the organization is finally thinking long-term, while still competing short-term. We're not in full rebuild mode, but we're not mortgaging the future either. We're being smart. Chicago deserves a smart front office. After years of bad contracts, wasted picks, and head-scratching decisions, we finally have someone running the show who knows what they're doing. So when you see Jones get traded before Tuesday, don't panic, celebrate, because it means Ryan Poles has a plan and that plan is working. But that's nothing compared to what's coming next. Now let's talk about the elephant in the room, C.J. Gardner-Johnson. On Wednesday, the Bears signed Gardner-Johnson to the active roster. And I know exactly what you're thinking. This guy's been on for teams in one calendar year. Philly, Houston, Baltimore, and now Chicago. Why should we think it'll work here? And I'll tell you why, because we've got Dennis Allen. Gardner-Johnson played his first 3 NFL seasons under Allen in New Orleans. He knows the system. He knows the philosophy. And more importantly, Allen knows exactly how to get the most out of Gardner-Johnson while managing his fiery personality. Let's be real, Gardner-Johnson is a headache. He's had issues with his role on multiple teams. He's clashed with coaches. He's been cut more times in 1 year than some guys in their whole careers, but he's also a winner. Won the Super Bowl last year. He's a turnover machine, and he brings exactly what this defense needs: attitude. Kevin Byard said it best, this game is played violently. You need someone out there who brings that spark. Obviously, you know the history of this city, Chicago Bulls, with Dennis Rodman. Sometimes you need guys like that out there. Dennis Rodman. Let me say that again. Dennis Rodman. Do you get the comparison Byard just made? Rodman was a pain. He was controversial. He was tough to manage. But he was exactly what the Bulls needed to win those last 3 titles. And I think Gardner-Johnson might be exactly what this defense needs to push this team into the playoffs. Look at the timing. Kyler Gordon, our nickel corner, hit IR on Saturday. The next day, the defense got embarrassed by a backup QB, gave up 30 points, and snapped our turnover streak. This defense needed a jolt. It needed someone to bring fire, intensity, and playmaking. And that's exactly what Gardner-Johnson does. Dennis Allen's been cramming info into him since he walked in the building. And after his first practice, Gardner-Johnson told reporters, "See you Sunday." 3 days after signing. That's confidence. That's urgency. That's the mindset we need. But here's what really gets me. Gardner-Johnson chose Chicago. He had other offers. Could have gone to a contender. But he picked Chicago because he saw something here. Coming to a place where I'm comfortable with the coach, Gardner-Johnson said, "This team was already good before me. They're good. I'm just here to add more fire, more skill to the backfield. I'm happy to be here. They were already good before him. That's respect. That's a player who sees what we all see, a team that's one or two pieces away from being something special. And here's the part that fires me up the most. Joaquin Brisker talked about how he and Gardner Johnson get in opponents' heads, especially the way I talk and the way others talk. We get in people's heads. Grown will be out there crying. Grown men with kids. Think about that, for real. It's funny, grown men with kids crying on the field. That's the kind of edge the monsters of the Midway used to have. That's Chicago defense coming back to life. Let's be honest, this defense has been good this year, but it hasn't been scary. It hasn't been the kind of defense that keeps quarterbacks up at night. Gardner Johnson can change that. Now, is there risk? Absolutely. This guy could blow up at any moment. Could clash with a coach. Could get cut in 3 weeks like he did in Houston and Baltimore. But I asked you this, what's the alternative? Stick with what we had and hope it works. Or take a calculated risk on a talented player who could elevate the whole unit. Ryan Poles and Ben Johnson chose to take the risk, and I think it's the right call. Look at the schedule coming up. Bengals, Packers, Cardinals, Patriots, Lions. If we're gonna make a playoff push, we need this defense to start forcing turnovers again. We need it to be scary again. And Gardner Johnson can be the spark. Dennis Allen said it best. He brings a little attitude to the football team in a way we really needed. Attitude. That's what's been missing. That's what all great Chicago defenses have had. Urlacher had it. Peppers had it. Hicks had it. And now, Gardner Johnson is bringing that attitude back to Soldier Field. Is it gonna be perfect? No. Will there be frustrating moments? Probably. But I'll tell you this, I'd rather have a guy with too much passion than one with none. And here's what nobody's talking about. Gardner Johnson said it's not about being the star. It's about doing things the right way and helping others do things the right way. That's maturity. That's a player who's learned from his mistakes and is ready to be part of something special. Chicago is building something special, and Gardner Johnson wants in. So let me ask you this. Bears family, Kyle Monange is about to go off against Cincinnati and prove this front office knows how to find late-round gems. Do you think he can rack up over 100 total yards on Sunday? Ryan Poles is about to trade Braxton Jones and show he's not afraid to make tough calls to improve this roster. Do you think Poles has another big move coming before Tuesday's deadline? And CJ Gardner-Johnson is bringing the fire and edge this defense has been missing all year. Do you think he can stay locked in and help us make a playoff run? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I want to hear what you think. I want to know if you're as fired up as I am about where this franchise is headed. And if you haven't subscribed to this channel yet, what are you waiting for? We're a family here. We're the voice of Bears fans who are done with mediocrity and ready to see this team compete for championships again. Hit that like button if you think the Bears are gonna win Sunday in Cincinnati. Subscribe if you believe this season is different. And turn on notifications because tomorrow we've got more breaking news on what Poles is planning for the deadline. This is our season, Chicago. After years of pain, after years of letdowns, we finally have a team that can compete. We finally have a coaching staff that knows what it's doing. We finally have an organization that understands what it means to play in Chicago. Bear down, family. See you in the next video.